apocalypse fashion dressing for dystopia. And it got a lot of attention, so I thought, okay, we'll wear our hazmat suits for a bit.
Yep.
But we wanted to talk a bit about COVID, so we're going to do that today.
Hi!
Hi.
So you don't need a hazmat suit and full respirator and everything. Just an N95 mask is good. I wear this kind. These Dentex N95 masks. Michelle actually likes wearing this.
I love it.
So she's going to stay in her full gear.
Yep.
But we're going to talk a bit about COVID because a lot of people are acting like COVID is over, and it is not over. Okay, so I took off my stuff so I can breathe a little better and you can hear me a little better, but Michelle wanted to leave hers on. So anyway, we were going to talk a bit about COVID because a lot of people are acting like it's over, and it's far from over. So Michelle, what do you have to say on the subject?
Well, we're obviously extremely careful. I am even more careful than Mama now.
Well, like I said, we're obviously being extremely careful. The real thing that I'm worrying about most is monkeypox. It's airborne and surface. I remember when there was just COVID to worry about, you wear a mask, stay away from people, but now that it's on surfaces, I am freaking out.
Well, I'm not as worried. I mean, yeah, I did hear that monkeypox is airborne and surface, but any cases that I've heard about, it's been close contact or breathing in their air or breathing in their bedding, like if somebody that's changing the bedding of someone that's infected. So I don't think things like hard surfaces, like to me, it's too remote. That's not going to happen. But we're still careful. Like if we get a package, we let it air out for a couple of weeks.
I'm kind of like in control of things like that because when we get a package, I'm like we're letting that air out for at least 14 days. And
yeah, like depending what it is, some things, if I can wash it, I wash it. If it can't be washed, if it's a hard surface, like we could leave it to air out. I mean, it makes her feel better, even though there's such a minuscule risk. Meanwhile, people are out there running amok and, you know, going crazy, super spreader events and acting like there's no pandemic. But we're extra cautious. Michelle's even more cautious than that. So whatever she feels comfortable with, I'd rather be overly cautious than not enough.
Yeah, I feel very happy that I have a mother like this that lets me do things like this, that lets me be in control of things that really make me feel a lot better.
Well, to me, your number one job as a parent is to make sure your child feels safe and loved. I don't know how you just send them off like guinea pigs or canaries in a coal mine to unsafe schools.
You have 4 major jobs as a parent. You need to make them loved, safe, feel loved, and feel safe. Whether they feel safe or feel loved, you need to make sure that you love them and make sure they are safe.
And I mean, a lot of people just aren't worrying anymore. And what makes it worse, so Biden just said that the pandemic is over. Like, that's just reckless. It is far from over. There's still 3,000 people a week dying from COVID. Like, that's a 9/11 every week from COVID. So how dare you say that it's over? Not to mention hundreds of millions of people that are permanently disabled with long COVID. And speaking of which, oh my gosh, okay, so it was infuriating to me, all the coverage of Queen Elizabeth. I mean, rest in peace, Queen Elizabeth. Don't get me wrong, love the Queen, sad to see her gone. But to me, why did they have all this coverage and not even mention the major point that should be at the top of every newspaper? She died from long COVID. No one wants to admit it, but she was infected in February and she never recovered. I remember newspaper headlines in April talking about the Queen having long COVID. So she never recovered. And what's infuriating to me is people will say, well, she was 96. As if her life's expendable and doesn't matter because she's old. Like, this is eugenics. For people to say, oh, it doesn't matter because they were old anyway. She could have lived to be 101. The Queen Mother, her mother, lived to be 101. And there's no reason to believe that she couldn't have lived to be 100. Instead, She made it to 96 because she was infected with COVID, which causes accelerated aging, organ damage, immune dysregulation. There is no benefit to infection. Everyone should be avoiding it, and especially leaders of countries. Like, okay, so it's not bad enough the Queen dies of long COVID. Now, her funeral was a super spreader event.
Obviously.
500,000 people in queue to pay their respects. Nobody was masking. Not a single mask, the whole crowd. Like, the Queen dies of long COVID, and you're lined up to get your own case?
1 in 5 will get long COVID, so 100,000 people, and those 500,000 people will get long COVID.
It's insane. And not only just the general public, that's bad enough. Like, let it rip, RIP. Even leaders of countries. Trudeau, our Prime Minister in Canada, has had COVID twice. Biden just had COVID. Like, you're playing COVID roulette with your lives. Like, you're gambling with brain damage. Who does that? And the only ones that are careful, like China on lockdown, they know there is no benefit to infection. Letting it rip among the whole population is not good for economy either.
I remember a while ago people called it the China virus. It's actually the opposite. It should be called the America virus. China is one of the most careful places.
Well, it's because it started in China and they blame them. But I mean, China is smart enough to know that health is more important than wealth. Health is wealth. You don't infect your entire population and think that that's going to be good for the economy. Now, they're finally starting to realize, like even the Bank of England is finally realizing, oh wait, well now if we've infected our whole workforce, there's less people to work. There's less people to leave the economy running. Like now, idiots like the airlines that let everyone drop masks, well now half their staff are off sick, and then there's flight delays and shortages and supply issues. It's going to hit every sector of the economy because you can't infect everyone. There'll be some people that will have long COVID. They'll never be back to work. Like, how is this sustainable? I honestly can't believe what's happening now. And to hear people talk, like even the CDC, they're supposed to be the Center for Disease Control. Now they're like, bad enough they're anti-mask. Well now, Walensky's even saying, oh, now you can even drop masks in healthcare settings. So you can go in the hospital and get your nosocomial infection. Like, come on, don't even protect the most vulnerable. And nobody seems to care about the immunocompromised people. Well, guess what? If you've been COVID infected, you are now immunocompromised because COVID affects your immune system. Like now, your T cells are being depleted, and each reinfection is worse. The damage is cumulative. So everyone gambling thinking, oh, well, I already had it, I don't have to worry. There's no one and done. You can be reinfected over and over. And eventually, it'll kill you.
Yeah.
You don't know what your number is.
Each reinfection is worse every time.
Like, I've heard of people who were in their 20s dropping dead of heart attacks and strokes because of COVID infection. And the problem is no one is equating it with, no one's blaming COVID. So those are just excess deaths. Well, there are a lot of excess deaths since the pandemic. Like, do you not notice there's a bit of a coincidence here? It's not normal for a 20-year-old to drop dead of a heart attack or stroke. COVID causes inflammation. It damages your organs. So maybe you get encephalitis, brain inflammation, hepatitis, liver inflammation, which all those kids were dying of, and they called it a mystery. Oh, it's so mysterious. No, it's not. Pediatric hepatitis after COVID infection. Blame COVID. That's what's doing it. Like, that's the common denominator, all these things, and no one will say it because they still want to let it rip and pretend it's not happening, and everyone's acting like COVID is over, and you see everyone. Huge crowds. Nobody masked, like the Queen's funeral. Like, come on. Burning Man festival. Outbreak, whole bunch of people infected with COVID. Of course. Like, what are you people thinking? It's sheer insanity. And already a Danish queen apparently caught COVID at the funeral. Like, I just literally can't even. And I almost think the way that, okay, so some people are just sociopaths even before the pandemic. They were just beyond help. They don't care about anyone. But even some people that were previously cautious, reasonable, sane people, even them, like, I don't know, let's use an example, Dr. Leanna Wen, for example, who used to follow science. up to a point, but now because she's being paid to be a minimizer and denier, now she's anti-mask. She said she's not even putting a mask on her child to send him to school because she thinks it hurt his language development. Give me a break. You learn language the first few years of life.
If you're trusting a school to help your son learn language, that is a red flag.
Like, as a mom, you read to your child, you sing to your child. I was reading and singing to her in utero while she was still in my belly, and I read to her so much, and she was talking early. And I mean, every child is different. Every child learns at their own pace, but they learn in the first few years of life at home. So if you're a bad mom, don't go and blame masks. Masks save lives. Wear a mask, an N95 mask, because COVID is airborne. And kids get COVID. Anyone can get COVID. And everyone pretended that it wasn't severe in kids. Oh, you don't have to worry, and kids don't get infected. Oh, it's not that bad. That was a lie. And so many kids now are suffering with long COVID. It's diabolical. She homeschools, and thank God she loves it at home, and I can keep her safe. But some people don't have that option. And it's infuriating that now, not only schools were always unsafe, but now even more so because there's not even a mask mandate. Now there's usually only like one kid masked in class, and from what I hear online, they're being bullied and singled out. It's like now the people that are cautious and smart and doing the right thing are being attacked. And the reckless idiots are just, you know, well, that's what everyone's doing it. All just running like lemmings off the cliff. It's sheer insanity. So people say that kids don't want to wear masks or this or that.
Okay,
It's the parents. It's whatever they learn from the parents.
Look at me.
She likes wearing masks.
I love it. Like
they
Mama
make
said,
her feel safe.
this is a privilege that some people don't get to have, so I love wearing masks. They protect me, they're comforting, I feel safe in them, I feel protected.
But I mean, we rarely go out now anyway, but when we do, we wear a mask. Like, it's not that much to ask to save your life. Like, the only kids that don't like wearing masks, they're hearing that propaganda from their parents. It's anti-mask parents that raise kids to think there's something wrong with wearing a mask. Because when the pandemic first started, N95 masks were not available. They were just supposed to be for healthcare workers, so we got cloth masks. And at the time, we weren't fully sure that COVID was airborne yet. We thought it was droplet, whatever. We wore cloth masks, and I got cute ones. I got a bunch of different things to make it something that wasn't unpleasant. So we had cute little teddy bear faces and whatever, and we had themed ones for Halloween and all that. And she liked wearing masks. It was fun. Like, look at Halloween. Don't tell me kids don't want to wear masks. Like, yeah, you can make it fun if you're trying, but it's the parents. And the problem is, if parents aren't warning kids of the risks, then the kids won't know. And they're like, everyone's out playing like it's 2019. Kids going to school. Oh my God, the other day, so Michelle and I were talking, and it was weird because we were talking about something spooky, and I was actually knocking on the counter to simulate a door because of experience that I had. All of a sudden, the door, for real, someone was at the door.
It was like, ding dong.
They rang the bell, and I was like, I jumped. I wasn't expecting it because usually we don't have anyone to the door. Well, it was an old friend of Michelle's asking her to play, I guess, because I saw her, and I didn't want to open the door at all. I tried to say through the window, no, Michelle doesn't go out. She doesn't go out to play. She doesn't go to school. She homeschooled. And she just looked at me like a deer in the headlights. She didn't know what I was saying. So I opened the door, just barely a crack, and Michelle wanted nothing to do with it. She left.
Ran upstairs, went in to the farthest bathroom away from the door, closed the door, and locked it.
Well,
Sat on the toilet in the fetal position.
It caught me off guard, so I opened the door, crack, and I said, sorry, honey, Michelle doesn't go out. I mean, in 2 years, has she not noticed? Like, Michelle doesn't go out to play. Michelle doesn't go to school anymore, like any of this. But I guess maybe because in 2020, everyone was a bit cautious. They had lockdown, they closed the schools. And then in 2021, people were still a bit cautious. They still had mask mandates. But now it's a free-for-all. Because now, like, everyone's pretending the pandemic's just over and no one's taking any precautions. So I guess she figured now, yeah, well, haven't seen you in a couple of years. Want to play? Oh, hell no. And the thing is, she wouldn't know that that's Michelle's choice. Like, I mean, yeah, I would not want her to go out and play. If she wanted to, I would say, okay, wear an N95 mask and stay outdoors, but Michelle doesn't even want to do that. Like, no, she wants no part of it.
No,
This is
I
her
want
choice.
no part in people indoors, outdoors, to 200 feet away from me. I want people to go away.
Well, and it's strange because Michelle was so much an
I
extrovert.
hate people.
She was an extrovert. Like, she loved everywhere we went. She made friends at the beach no
I
matter where we went.
despise people.
Well, and that's kind of sad, and people are going to get mad at me and say, oh, well, you made your daughter afraid, and now you made her an introvert. Like, but this is survival. I would rather, if she wants to stay home and she wants to be overly cautious, even more than me, so be it, because it's saving her life. Like, I am not gambling with brain damage. I'm not gambling with organ damage. Everyone acts like it's either completely mild if you're healthy, or if you're old and immunocompromised, and who cares about them anyway? You do eugenics, let them die. Well, first of all, you're an a-hole, because no, I don't think it's okay for anyone to die. I don't think anyone should go before their time, and I think everyone deserves quality of life and to live as long as they possibly can. So I don't think it's okay in the elderly either, or the vulnerable. Protect everyone. But also, guess what? Those young people, those young and healthy people who get COVID are, many of them, no longer young and healthy. Now they've aged by a decade at least. Some of them are getting Alzheimer's. Some of them are having strokes and heart attacks at 20 years old, or even children in the hospital with hepatitis or encephalitis, myocarditis. Like, that is not normal. COVID causes inflammation. There is no benefit to infection. That should be the message that public health is screaming. Wear a mask. It will save your life. Instead, no, they won't mandate masks. They all just say, you do you. Individual responsibility. Well, too bad most people are irresponsible. A lot of people are uninformed. I know people personally that just prefer to bury their head in the sand and pretend it's not happening. But ignoring a problem doesn't make it go away. It makes it worse. So it is so frustrating. So we just avoid people. Like, I basically avoid people like it's a zombie apocalypse, because it basically is. The way I see it, okay, I did this graphic. So the right-wingers, the maggots, were always sociopaths. That's a given. But what really irks me is now seeing even people on the left, even people that used to be reasonable, are now willing to let it rip. Everyone's anti-mask now. Everyone is. Because some of them say, oh, COVID was never a thing. Oh, it's mild, it's a cold. They would have never worn a mask anyway. And then the other people, the vaxxed and relaxed people, oh, I've been vaccinated. Oh, I don't have to worry. Oh, I can always take Paxlovid. Oh, I'll be fine. Wrong. You don't know how it's going to affect you. And the vaccine doesn't prevent long COVID. Everyone's acting like it's either death or you're perfectly fine. Long COVID, to me, is the scariest of all.
Exactly.
Because that's long-term disability, and you don't know right away. So that mild case that you had, or that asymptomatic case that you didn't even know you had, you get over it, and months later you have all these symptoms, and years later you're disabled. That is not okay. It is cutting your life short. The life expectancy has fallen in pretty much every country since the pandemic. What does that tell you? The excess deaths have gone up in every country. Like,
Oh gee, I
are you
wonder
learning
why.
nothing? It's COVID. When in doubt, it's COVID. And meanwhile, all these people talking about, oh, I've got allergies, and oh, and I've got a cold, and I've got the flu, and all the cold, cough, and flu medicines are flying off the shelves. It's COVID. Like, the pandemic is not over. It is far from over. The only thing that's over is compassion, conscience, people acknowledging reality. Like, that's all over. Because people just want to get back to normal. What they really mean is go back to 2019 and just pretend this never happened. But that doesn't make it go away. It actually makes it worse. I feel less safe now than I did in 2020. Because
Yeah.
at least in 2020 they
I
acknowledged it.
feel 100% more anxious now than I did in 2020.
And actually, when people show the hospitalizations and deaths, they're higher in 2022 than ever. Higher than 2020, higher than 2021. It is the worst it's ever been. And then they keep
Obviously.
talking about, oh, the fall wave, there's going to be a wave in the fall. There are no waves. The virus is always there. The waves are human behavior. The worse your behavior is, the more cases there are. Only now, they're not even testing or reporting. They're shutting down all these dashboards that warn you about COVID. So everyone's in the dark. How do you even assess risk when you don't even know? And meanwhile, people are willing to risk their freaking lives or risk brain damage to go to a restaurant or a concert. Like, are you kidding me? I still can't fathom when I saw the footage of the Queen's funeral. It is baffling to me. You see this whole sea of faces, clueless, nobody wearing a mask. There was like 1 or 2 people, I think, wearing a mask, and guess what? They were from China. It's like the survival of the smartest, I guess, because everyone's just a bunch of idiots and no one gives a damn, and everyone's just, oh, it's not going to happen to me. If long COVID killed a queen, it can kill anyone, because all the resources in the world can't help you if you end up that way. Nothing. Prevention is better than cure. Safe is better than sorry. Don't gamble with it. And then my mom says, well, why do you get so mad? You can stay home anyway. You're safe. Why do you get so riled up? And it doesn't affect you. Because I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. I feel like I'm in a horror movie. You know when you're watching a horror movie and you can see them making the worst possible decisions and they're going to get killed? It's like that, only it's real life. And you can't warn people. Even your own freaking family doesn't listen and nobody cares. And you try to scream like, be careful. But it's too much to ask that they even just wear a mask. So I'm like, I'm so frustrated. It's wrong. It's like the banality of evil. That everyone's acting like this is just fine and it's not. It's like in Nazi Germany, that was not fine. And everyone that went along with it, to me, they're just as evil. Like, if you see something happening that should not be happening, you've got to say something. Otherwise, you're allowing it. So, anyway, that's my rant for today. And, Michelle, did you have anything else to add about COVID or anything?
Not really. Just stay home, stay safe.
Like, and the problem is, too, infecting the whole population. Now, everyone's immune compromised. Their immune systems are reduced, and now all these other things come out of the woodwork, like monkeypox. You don't hear about it as much. Hopefully cases are going down, but who knows, because people are being misdiagnosed. And polio made a come back. Like, do you not see something wrong with that? Cholera, there's an Ebola outbreak in Uganda. Like, this is not good. It's not good. Like,
all the diseases are coming back because of reckless idiots, and it's all because of COVID.
like, there are consequences to let it rip. Like, that's why Let It Rip ends with RIP. Like, this is a grave mistake. But I feel like everyone has been hypnotized. And I made this graphic. I feel like once you've been infected with COVID, because some people have even mentioned how they know someone that got infected with COVID and it's changed them. Like, they're more outgoing. They want to do more things. They're more social. They're more aggressive. I feel like with rabies or toxoplasmosis, there are viruses that will hijack your brain. They change the host's behavior because they want you to spread infection to more people. So I feel like COVID is doing that too. I mean, if it can hijack your body's cells, why not your brain cells? You know, it's causing brain damage to the extent that everyone is now on board to let it rip. They want to go out and spread infection. They want to be reinfected and infect as many people as they can. They're virus puppets, plague rats, you know, like toxoplasmosis rats that run towards cats. That is contra survival. That is not normal. You're supposed to have survival instincts and avoid danger, not run toward it. So I feel like everyone is just a puppet. So there's Biden, post-COVID infection, who's out there saying, oh, the pandemic's over. See, no one's wearing a mask.
Everyone at this point, like any president or vice president, any like big person, something like that, any famous landmark or whatever, has COVID or will get COVID. Like,
well, yeah, because anyone
superstars, concerts,
because they're going everywhere.
Exactly.
And look at Justin Bieber now. He had to stop his concert because he's had COVID. He's probably got long COVID. He won't admit it. But a few singers have had to stop. They've had to stop their concerts. They've had to stop things because they can't do it anymore and they don't want to admit. But I wish someone would admit, like, there's no benefit to infection. Avoid infection.
It's going to take some big superstar to just say, no, this is not okay. This is definitely not okay. We're in a massive pandemic.
Well, and no one wants to do it because they figure, well, for 2 years we had to stop all these things. We couldn't have concerts. We couldn't do this and that. There shouldn't be huge events of hundreds or thousands of people. That's insane, especially unmasked. Like, it's just sheer insanity. I mean, there is a middle ground between lockdown and let it rip. You can have certain things within reason. You can wear a mask, you can have ventilation, you can at least try to be safe, but no, now they just want to do nothing. Like even someone showed a poster in the subway making fun of, you know, if you want to wear a mask or you don't wear a mask, you do you. Well, public health is supposed to protect the public. It's not supposed to leave it up to individual responsibility. You do you is you do eugenics. That's letting people die. That's just saying to the vulnerable and the elderly and anyone that's at high risk, that's saying you don't matter. We don't care about you. We're not going to wear a mask. If everyone is not masking, then everyone is at greater risk. Protect yourself and others. Wear a mask. Like we avoid people and we avoid going out. Like now I even order groceries in, so we don't have to go anywhere. But I'm grateful to have that option. Some people don't have that option. They're out there all the time. They should at least be protecting themselves.
That's
the world
why
is so
I
insane.
love wearing masks, homeschooling, never being around people. Because that's a privilege that a lot of people do not get to have.
Well, some people would say you're missing out then. You're not living your life. But we did a lot of
Missing
things.
out on a brain-damaging virus.
Before the
horrible.
pandemic, we did a lot of things. And I'm glad you got to go to ballet and you had piano lessons and we went to fairs and you dove in the deep end.
I don't
and all
really
these
miss any
exciting-
of it.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, yeah, there were things that were fun. Like I used to love the Butterfly Conservatory. But I've gotten used to being home and there's nothing that I miss
have
enough to risk my
adapted.
life.
You adapt
you
to
adapt.
survive. You don't adapt. You don't survive. I have adapted, and I don't miss my friends. I don't miss going to fast food.
Oh,
I
you're my
don't-
best friend. I mean, I do
Yeah.
miss McDonald's fries a little bit. But yeah, now she doesn't want to go to fast food anymore either since monkeypox because they were born in surface. So yeah, but
Yeah,
that's...
Mama's my best friend now. She's my only friend.
But it's saving us money and it's healthier to not have fast food. So yeah, we're not even doing that. But I mean, some people just, they're not taking any precautions at all.
They're
It's like they're not
stupid.
even worried. And people that think that they've been infected so now they don't have to worry. It's not the case. Each reinfection is worse. Like I heard of one girl that she was in her 20s and she was on her 5th infection. She finally just dropped dead of a stroke. So I don't understand people playing COVID roulette. To me, I'd rather be safe than sorry. Anyway,
Same.
we're home. We got each other.
And our cat.
Allie, you happy that we're home all the time? Yeah. So anyway, that's my rant for now. So take care. Stay safe.
Take care.